Hello there, Bic Benedict here. We're playing Uncharted 4, and this is my crushing difficulty guide and walkthrough. We're currently on chapter 6 of 22. It is entitled Once a Thief. So, when you are jumping like this, if you can get an on-landing roll, that will cancel out your just falling into the ground and having to recover. It's not something that you have to do, but it can come in handy. So remember, try to get the on landing roll if you can help it. But gosh, this game is so gorgeous, especially with HDR and all of those other nice bells and whistles. So you're going to come over here. Sam needs to come over here, and we have to press L3 again for some reason. And we've got a heist chapter. And I want to welcome you back to the walkthrough. So anytime you see your character, well, I guess it's always Nathan, isn't it? Except in the other game, Lost Legacy. Anytime he reaches out, he's safe to jump, and you won't fall. So if he reaches out, no matter how ridiculous it looks, as long as you are reaching out, it doesn't matter if it looks ridiculous because that's how it works. And I've also been dropping down through handholds. If you noticed a moment ago, I was doing a little bit of that. So we need to come down all the way over here and just wait for Sam to hook onto the post here so that we can then make our way over here. They've really gone a long way as far as where they started out, with their humble beginnings. Because this rope, it really changes the dynamic of the game. And there's nothing more fun than swinging across, chasms and doing a whole bunch of stunts and going crazy. But I would be remiss if I just neglected to talk about the PC version, because, as I say, this game came out in early Legacy of Thieves Collection came out in early 2022, and it wasn't until 10 months later that the PC version landed, and I had put all my hopes and dreams into this fucking PC version, and was quite disappointed. And even though the developer, and it was the same developer, I think, that made the Arkham Knight game, so it had just very inauspicious beginnings, and it still makes me. So what happens is that, and I don't know what this means either. I don't know what shaders are, but for some reason, you have to wait while before you play Uncharted 4 on PC or The Lost Legacy. You have to wait. It is optional, but you do need to wait until the shaders have finished compiling before you start playing the game. And if you don't wait for them to compile, you get an unoptimized experience with what I would presume would be lag and stutter and things like that. So here we are with the PS5 version. It just takes us a couple of seconds to start it up. Whereas on the PC version, which should be better, we have to wait for shader compilations to all compile. However, remember what I said? You shouldn't have to do that, the developer said. In fact, they said you don't have to do that if your GPU has 8 gigabytes of VRAM or more. I happen to have the 370 Ti by Asus, and I have 8 gigabytes of VRAM. For some reason, I still have to have the shaders compile on the PC version, but I'm just done with it. I've wiped my hands with it. I'm not I'm not messing with it anymore. I didn't play it for too long, but I played it just long enough so that I couldn't get a refund for it. So and I got burned. A very a very astute subscriber of mine said that the legacy of Thieves Collection had thieved me out of my money, and it sure as fuck they had. And I got really upset too by the whole affair. Anyway, we're going to be going over here and doing a bit of pickpocketing. Excuse me. You just have to press L2 and then aim the circle where the card is that you need to lift. You cannot do it on the first time. The game will not let you. And I just have to keep saying this, but this game looks so amazing. It really does. Because before I ever got my monitor that had HDR capability, I was playing this game in a condition that just looks horrifying to behold, just absolutely uglier than shit without HDR on. And HDR is available on the PC version too, as long as you have that ability on your PC. But I like this game. God help me. I like this game. I like the dynamic of the brothers, and I've played this game so many times, so many times, and I got all of the treasures for both of these games, Lost Legacy and Uncharted 4, and I wouldn't do that unless I really enjoyed what I was doing and respected the game. Although Chapter 4 on the Lost Legacy is a collector's nightmare. It's really awful. That semi-open world chapter. Anyway, we're going to be... I also have the brightness all the way up, folks, as well. So I've got the HDR on, brightness all the way up, and yes, of course, this definitely is an area that is meant to be dark. For Christ's sakes, we're traversing by the light of Sam's Zippo. Anyway, just make your way over here. And yes, if you do want to try out the unlocked frame rate, I would say that it's possible to get a stable experience while you have frame rate unlocked, but you have to make sure that you go through all the other settings and see if something else may be causing that problem. Possibly the Hertz mode. Oh, but on this part over here, we do need to go to the right at some point. Yeah, we need to go to the right, but we can't interact with that grating unless we interact with this one first. So we need to now head back. And how do you feel about Uncharted 4 and how it starts off? Because Uncharted games, with the exception of the first one, because you're just immediately thrown into action on the first one and it never stops until the end of the game. But Uncharted games are notorious for starting off slowly, and I think this one is perhaps the slowest one of all as far as starting out. I really don't feel that the game technically begins until chapter 8. Now, why do I say that? It's just because it feels like you're finally getting the wings beneath your feet, so to speak, and are doing things your way, and and starting to feel the real challenge of what this game is. Because the stealth sections in the next chapter are elementary compared to the what I would say are more sophisticated and much more challenging stealth sections in the direct next chapter after 7. So think of it as chapter 7 has some kindergarten stealth sections, but the following chapter and the rest of the stealth sections, for that matter, it's college level. And I'm not even particularly good at stealth. These games weren't meant to be stealth. They had some minor stealth elements in them. 2 and 3 did, and some minor times in the first one. But I do enjoy the stealth in this game more than in The Last of Us, because the kills that you can get while you're stalking your enemies, you snap their necks in just like a fraction of a second, and then they're taken care of. Whereas in The Last of Us, you have to choke them out. And I know there is an upgrade for more speedily being able to choke out an enemy. But I just really like this game, and I like it for the fact that there's no upgrades or anything like that to fuss around with. Like in the form. Oh, I took some liberties with this edit to make it look kind of interesting. But that is a checkpoint that you go over right over there. I also wanted to mention, if you look right over here, press down and X at that point to do that. Because I always had a hard time figuring out how do I just spin around while I'm on that pipe. It is down plus X. Do not worry, you won't fall off. But you know how all of the Gears games, they never had like upgrades and everything, like Gears 1 all the way up through 4. And then the Coalition started to implement all these bizarre changes to the Gears formula starting in the 5th game. And you know that they were already planning it in the 4th game. They just wanted to have everybody be complacent and fool everybody that everything was going to be the same going forward. Even though I think Gears 4 is quite boring, more boring than Gears 5. But still, I just like the simplicity of not having to do any upgrades, not having to fuss with anything, not having to think of yourself as having an advantage over somebody else or anything like that. Oh, this part over here, this is you having to interact with 5 bins and drawers and lockers and dresser drawers and things like that before you finally find a tool. What is it? A crowbar to open the door, and then you're gonna press the switch, and that will be the end of chapter 6, and we will transition into the 7th chapter. It's going to be occurring very, very rapidly if you're just watching the walkthrough on this playlist. But regardless, please take care, and I really do mean that when I say take care. I don't just say it in vain. And go in good health, and please, as I say, take care.